jail, the murderer of Becky Godden. Already a convicted killer, Christopher Halliwell received a whole life term. Detectives believe there may be even more victims.
I don't think these are his only two offences. We've had some calls in already which I've not had time to process, but they indicate to me that he has committed other offences.
Also tonight, the tiny survivor of Aleppo's latest onslaught, Syria's Assad's accused of attempting annihilation.
Tough questions for Yahoo as the Information Commissioner says 8 million UK accounts were hacked.
And not the life on the ocean waves they'd hoped for. Apprentices adrift as their shipping line goes bust.
This is the ITV Evening News with Alistair Stewart and Ranveer Singh.
Good evening. The judge said Halliwell was a calculating and devious liar who'd constructed a cock and bull story of a defence. He was already serving life for the murder of Shana Callahan, and the judge ordered that, like the Yorkshire Ripper Peter Sutcliffe, Halliwell should never leave prison alive.
He'd compounded his crime by putting Becky Godden's parents through the pain of a trial. In an impact statement, Becky's mother said she thinks of her little girl every day. And as Rupert Evelyn now reports, detectives say they now have fresh leads on his other possible victims.
Life will mean life for Christopher Halliwell. The 50-year-old double murderer will live under lock and key with no chance of parole. He will die in prison. He gets the longest possible sentence reserved for those who commit the most heinous crimes because his murders were sexually motivated and involved abductions. Becky Godden was killed and buried by a self-centred, calculating and devious man, said the judge. The court heard the impact statement from her mother, and the moment she heard her missing daughter was dead. My world had fallen apart, shattered in seconds, and that emotion I've woken up with every day since. That feeling of total devastation, disbelief, loss, pain, the flash of sudden panic that hits me in the stomach and just repulses me. It has changed my world. Becky's father wishes this day had come sooner. The years of not knowing what happened to his daughter have taken their toll.
It's going to take a long time for me to sink in. I mean, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. You know, it has mentally scarred me.
Shana Callahan was Halliwell's other victim, but there may be more. Since the moment he confessed to her killing and the location of Becky Godden's body, police have had their suspicions. Now they've been given new lines of inquiry that may lead to further crimes.
I don't think these are his only two offences. We've had some calls in already which I've not had time to process, but they indicate to me that he has committed other offences, whether that's being serious sexual offences or murder.
The information you received is serious enough that it warrants further investigation.
Absolutely, and if it didn't, I wouldn't be doing it.
It's inconceivable to detectives that Halliwell hasn't committed more crimes. Although he has shown the propensity for confession, he's not revealed anything else since he took police to Becky Godden's shallow grave. Halliwell's work diary and bank records give police valuable detail about his precise locations over the years. If he's not to reveal secrets about what else he may have been up to, then perhaps that evidence and new information given to police will. But whatever happens next, tonight a controlling and manipulative man is behind bars for the rest of his life.
Rupert, thank you.
More than 90 people are feared to have been killed and dozens of buildings destroyed as the Syrian government launches an all-out offensive against Aleppo. A second day of heavy bombing and shelling has targeted the east of the city, where rebels are besieged. It has been the bloodiest day for months, and local rescue teams have described it as an annihilation.
The rebels are surrounded by Syrian government forces and the Kurdish YPG. The bombings also pounded other rebel-held parts of the city, including the village of Kafr Hamra, where a baby boy was rescued from the rubble, as Neil Connery reports.
In Aleppo's bombed-out ruins, rescuers surround a trapped baby boy. "Pull him out," they cry. Be careful, he's little, says another. Frantically digging with their hands through the rubble, they manage to make the hole bigger. And then pull the baby boy out. He's alive and rushed away for treatment. A moment of hope, but it's overwhelmed by despair as the scale of the overnight bombardment unleashed in a fresh wave of airstrikes becomes clear. Activists say Syrian and Russian planes pounded the east of the city. Even the headquarters of the volunteer rescue force was struck, their vehicles destroyed. Aid groups say Aleppo is being annihilated. One eyewitness spoke to ITV News.
More than 300,000 civilians inside Aleppo are in danger of extermination. All the world should know this, because one day they should be regret. They should be so sorry for letting us down.
Footage released by the Syrian military shows fighting north of the coastal city of Latakia between Syrian forces and rebel groups. A week which had started with a ceasefire in Aleppo ends with the depressing return to business as usual as Syria's suffering continues to claim casualties. Neil Connery, ITV News.
The mother of Scarlett Keeling says she is devastated after a court in Goa cleared 2 men of raping and killing the 15-year-old. Fiona McEwen has vowed to continue her fight for justice for her daughter, who was found dead after a beach party in 2008. She says she's determined that somebody must be held accountable, as Paul Davies now reports.
Scarlett Keeling's mother, Fiona, had to be helped away from the New Delhi Children's Court, having heard 2 of the men she blames for Scarlett's death cleared on all charges.
I'll speak later. Yeah, I'm still shocked, really.
15-year-old Scarlett had been drugged, raped and left to drown on a tourist beach. While the 2 men accused of feeding her alcohol and drugs before assaulting her walked from the court.
But were you relieved when you heard the verdict? I'm just relieved. I'm just coming down feeling,
Scarlett's mother gave her response to the female judge's decision over the internet.
I'm just reeling at the moment, to be quite honest. I still can't get my head around how she could let them off on everything when there were so many witnesses saw them putting drugs out for her.
Scarlett had been staying with friends at Goa's popular Anjuna beach. She'd been to a Valentine's party here. The 15-year-old from Bideford in Devon was last seen alive with one of the accused. It was February 2008 when Scarlett's body was found on Anjuna Beach. The following month, locals Samson de Souza and Placido Cavallo were arrested. In June that year, the case was taken over by the Central Bureau of Investigation, who charged the pair with culpable homicide, not murder. The 2 went on trial in March 2010, but years of delays, including frequent changes in judges, has meant the verdict has taken 6 years to reach. The local police have been accused of incompetence and worse. At first they said the 15-year-old had drowned, until a medical test carried out at her mother's insistence revealed more than 50 injuries. After today's verdict, she was again questioning the Indian legal system.
I've heard the chief ministers and the ministers promise they're going to support us and they're going to treat it like it was their own daughter, and then they shut the door on their faces the next day. So I just don't know who I can believe and who I can trust as far as the system here.
Fiona McEwen says she's not sure she has the strength to take her fight for justice any further. Paul Davies, ITV News.
Some news just in, and video has emerged tonight showing the moments leading up to the fatal US police shooting of Keith Scott in North Carolina. The footage is taken by his wife, Rakea, who can be heard pleading with officers not to shoot Mr. Scott, who's inside the white pickup truck.
Don't shoot him. Don't shoot him. He has no weapon. He has no weapon. Don't shoot him.
Now, later in the video, shots can be heard, and Mr. Scott is seen lying on the ground. No gun can be seen near him in the video, which was obtained by the US network NBC. Police insist Mr. Scott was carrying a weapon at the time, but his family say he was not armed.
The Information Commissioner has revealed 8 million UK Yahoo accounts were among those that had data stolen in the world's biggest cyber hack. And she says the US internet giant has serious questions to answer over its handling of the affair.
Yahoo only confirmed last night that 500 million users worldwide had personal details stolen back in 2014. Our consumer editor Chris Choi reports.
Built to connect people. But today, Yahoo users found themselves connected to the world's biggest hacking scandal.
It feels like someone's come in and robbed all your information and has gone through it. Basically, it's being burgled in the modern day, so it's something that upsets me, and it's something I'm going to have to keep a very close eye on.
Information on 500 million Yahoo accounts was stolen in late 2014, 8 million of those from the UK. Hackers got names, email addresses, telephone numbers, dates of birth, security questions and answers, but the company says they didn't get unencrypted passwords. Its promotional videos stress what users should do to improve security, but some now question whether Yahoo itself did enough.
We asked them some tough questions, important questions, to help us find out more about exactly what had gone on. One of those questions is to why it took so long for the Yahoo to inform the users, i.e. the people concerned, and also the authorities.
Any Yahoo user that hasn't changed passwords in the last 2 years is being urged to urgently do so. And tonight, UK fraud investigators issued a new warning.
Fraudsters actually use the profile of the data breach itself to approach customers, pretend they're from the company that's been subject to the data breach, and actually use that to frighten customers into doing things, perhaps handing over details or giving them account details that they then use for fraud.
Yahoo would like to take a moment.
One of the web's original big names is tonight tarnished by a data breach on a scale never seen before, while Yahoo services that boast about their convenience have left millions facing worry and inconvenience.
That all happened 2 years ago, but what advice are you giving now to people who are still worried?
Well, that time gap is the big issue, of course, in Yahoo's own inbox now. A very tricky question. Why did it take quite so long for them to tell everybody? People could have been taking precautions. There are some indications that they warned about some kind of data breach 2 years ago, but nothing like on this scale. As for that important advice, the most crucial thing tonight is, if you're affected by all of this mess, to change your password, especially if you haven't done so since 2014. On top of that, don't forget to change your safety and security settings when it comes to those security questions and answers, and beware of people phoning or emailing purporting to be from Yahoo. That is a well-known criminal technique to get more data from you.
Sound advice as always, Chris. Thank you very much indeed. And we've got even more advice online on how to protect yourself from internet hackers. That's at itv.com/news.
Well, still to come on ITV Evening News, a cry for help from the cadets stranded at sea after their company filed for bankruptcy.
And after 6 months, the English cricket season comes down to the last few overs, with 3 sides still in it. Those stories and more after the break.
Welcome back. A major new study into selective education says expanding it will not improve pupils' achievement or increase social mobility for the poor. It also says the government's plans for more grammar schools in England will not only see poorer students do worse, it will also hold back high achievers too. Sejal Carrier went to Greater Manchester then to hear the views from both sides of the education divide.
The Speaker of the House of Commons has to be apolitical.
The grammar school system in Trafford in Greater Manchester has been hailed as a huge success locally. Schools like Altrincham are consistently ranked top of the National League tables, and the head here believes grammars offer excellence to all.
In this school, the most able, whether they come from the poorest background or from the most wealthy background, really do thrive, because we can offer an academic curriculum which is geared up for those sorts of students, and we have excellent teachers who are then able to deliver that excellent curriculum right up to the very highest level.
But a major new report suggests creating more grammars like this won't raise overall educational standards and may make things worse. The largest study of the country's 163 grammar schools warns more grammars would reduce the school's academic potential, as they'd have to accept children further down the ability scale. And the negative impact on other schools would increase because they would have fewer high-achieving pupils.
What increasing the intake of grammar schools for those pupils are likely to do, they're likely to reduce, firstly, the beneficial impact of grammar schools as they become more comprehensive, and they're also more likely to lead to damaging impacts for poorer children who don't attend the grammar schools.
Remember, they get worse and worse. The report suggests money would be better spent on comprehensives, where it says the brightest pupils do just as well, but they also cater for disadvantaged students. The head of this school, Burnage Academy in Trafford, used to be the head of a grammar, but left because he told me the system was unfair.
For those who don't get into the grammar school, they will feel branded as failures. And if you tell somebody enough that they're a failure, they're not going to disappoint you. They will be.
The Department for Education says relaxing restrictions on selective education can and should be to the betterment, not at the expense of other local schools. And they're still consulting on the proposals. Sejal Karia, ITV News, Greater Manchester.
A Treasury minister who helped plan the Conservatives' Northern powerhouse has resigned from the government. In his resignation letter, Lord O'Neill of Gatley warned Theresa May that Northern devolution is vital to the UK's success following Brexit.
SATs will undergo a major review over concerns that new exams for primary school children are too tough. MPs will look at the curriculum after some schools threaten to boycott the examinations.
And Monty Python star Terry Jones is suffering from dementia. The illness affects his ability to communicate. It means the 74-year-old is no longer able to give interviews.
A group of trainee seamen have been left stranded in the ocean after a shipping company went bust. The 4 students were placed on a South Korean container ship as part of a training course with the City of Glasgow College. But they have been learning that they may be stuck at sea for some months, as Martha Fairley explains.
They've been stranded at sea for weeks. David Gorniak, Rory Hanna and Gavin McPhail are stuck on a container ship in the South China Sea with no idea when they'll get home. The Scottish Sea Cadets were on a placement along with one other on board the container ship the Hanjin Louisiana when Hanjin, the South Korean shipping company that owns it, went into receivership. And instead of going home on September the 2nd, they've been stuck off Singapore, waiting for their ship to be given permission to sail into port.
We have received some news in the last few hours that other ships around Singapore have been told to get ready to go into port. And indeed, another couple of ships have already gone into port, but we still haven't received anything from the owners or the charterers of the vessel with regards to our ship.
Back in Scotland, families are waiting anxiously for any news, but their communication with the ship has been limited to basic emails.
I think they're all coping very well from what I can gather, but they do have days when they're feeling a bit miserable about things, and I think it's the not knowing and not knowing when it's going to come to an end.
Clyde Maritime Training says it's in contact with its cadets and their families to ensure they can return home as soon as possible. But much of that will depend on when Hanjin Shipping, which currently has £10 billion worth of cargo stranded around the world, can raise the funds it needs to pay for its ships to dock and unload their containers. Martha Fairley, ITV News.
In cricket, a 6-month season came down to the final few overs today, with 3 different teams all vying for the county championship. In a nail-biting close finish, Middlesex beat fellow title challengers Yorkshire, with bowler Toby Rowland-Jones clinching victory with a spectacular hat-trick.
Well, that wiped out all hope for Somerset, whose fans watched the game knowing a draw would have given them their first ever championship crown.
But it was Middlesex who lifted the trophy after winning by 61 runs. It's the first time they've won the title since 1993.
And finally tonight, to someone who knows only too well that thin line between success and failure. Jose Mourinho hasn't enjoyed the winning feeling much at Manchester United recently.
3 high-profile defeats has put the manager under pressure, and also his captain Wayne Rooney. And as Damon Green reports from Manchester, fans and Mourinho accept he's not playing well.
He's been a star of English football since he was 16 years old, but now more and more followers of Manchester United are wondering if that star is starting to fade. Wayne Rooney, who's scored just once for his club in the Premier League this season.
Let me kill the mosquito first.
A minor irritation for Mourinho.
Goodbye. No?
And having swatted the mosquito in the press room, he swatted away criticism of his captain.
Wayne Rooney form is like Man United form. We are a team. We are not Wayne Rooney. We are a team. And we all started well. We all won 4 matches. And we all lost 3 matches in a week. So that's not Wayne Rooney.
Rooney didn't even play in the Europa League defeat away to Feyenoord, but if they felt hard done by in Rotterdam, United can have no complaints about defeat at the hands of Manchester City and Watford. The captain says he's used to being criticised on the back pages, but even United fans at Old Trafford are starting to express their doubts.
He's got heart and he's got soul, and he's a lion as far as United's concerned, but I think it happens to all of us and age catches up.
Now he seems to, misplace passes that he never used to misplace. So, everybody has to move on, and it may be just his time.
The days when Rooney dazzled in every game for club and country seem to be over. And if this man can't find an answer to the question of what to do with him, his problems may deepen. So Jose Mourinho is discovering it's his job here, which is the special one with special responsibilities and special problems. He's going to have to find some special solutions very quickly. Damon Green, ITV News, at Old Trafford.
With a special report.
Absolutely.
That's the buzzword. That's all for now. Tom Bradby's here with the news at 10.
But from all of us here for now, a very good evening to you.